Welcome to Cosmic Ruh Podcast. Today, we're addressing a deeply impactful and often misunderstood topic, drug addiction. Addiction is more than a personal struggle. It's a complex challenge that affects families, communities, and lives in profound ways. In this episode, we'll explore the human side of addiction, the pain, the courage, and the journey toward healing. This is a conversation about hope, resilience, and the possibility of reclaiming one's life. Okay. Today, I have Miss Chasity. Can you pronounce your last name, Chasity? I don't know how to say your last name properly.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Munoz.
Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so Chasity Munoz is my guest today. Chasity is a passionate advocate for health and wellness with a powerful story of transformation. Having overcome personal struggles with addiction, Chasity turned her life around through a deep commitment to self-care and personal growth. She now dedicates her journey to inspiring others to reclaim their health and embrace a balanced lifestyle, using her experiences to guide and motivate others on their path to recovery and vitality. Welcome, Chasity.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, hi. Yeah. It's so good to see you. Jeez. Yeah, you're a busy gal.
And I first met you at the Full Disclosure Now conference.
Yeah.
Briefly, we had a few interactions, and just for a quick shout out, anybody interested in coming or buying a ticket to the conference, the link is below on the banner, so all are welcome.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, well, we're going to have this year's going to be even better. Yeah. I want to hear a little bit about your background in your story and what has gotten you where you're at today. But can we first go into, and I'll grab my notes. Guys, please bear with me. I definitely want to encourage you to share whatever you're comfortable with.
And I'm an open book. Sometimes it makes people uncomfortable, but I don't give a shit.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's a good attitude to have. You don't need to be holding on to concerns of what other people think, especially when we're coming from an authentic, genuine place and wanting to share real, valuable information that can potentially change someone's life.
Yeah.
And here on Cosmic Ruh, it's my goal always to reach hearts and minds. And if I have touched one heart, I've served my purpose. I'm not, that's always my intention. Okay. So go ahead and share about yourself, and then we'll move into questions later. Do you want to tell the audience a little about who you are and
so, actually it was a year ago at the Disclosure Now, I made a post about Suboxone. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular drug, but there are quite a few people in our community that have been on it. And it became very clear to me, there's like millions, probably even more, stuck on this drug. And when I made this, so I came off of Suboxone about a year ago, and I've never been able to successfully liberate myself from this drug. And I'll get into how I got there, but I think this is important. I kind of want to discuss this first. Well, I started posting my journey, right? And I started posting when I came off of it, the withdrawals. I was very raw and real about what I was going through. And it became very clear to me, people were constantly contacting me, asking me how I was going about it, what I was doing. And then I made a post at the conference, actually, pretty much stating that if your doctor has you, I was getting pretty pissed off. And I was like, if your doctor has you on Suboxone, I would encourage you to tell him to put an exit plan together for you right now, because it seems to me as though, I just know now that these doctors are doing this for this lifelong haul. They're not giving these patients an opportunity. They actually push up against you. Well, I was pretty pissed off about that post, and that shit went viral overnight. I mean, right now it's got almost 700,000 views, and people were reposting in the comments that were coming in. It just became very clear to me that this is, and I had already started a podcast on addiction. I think I did. But it's just more or less honing in on this particular drug, because it, on my TikTok, every time that I posted about Suboxone, every post about that particular drug has thousands of views, 30,000, 15,000, 20,000, 10,000. I went and looked again yesterday just out of curiosity. So it became very clear to me that there are lots of people fighting this fight. And so I created a Facebook page for Unveiling Addiction. And I spent so much time rallying so many people that were asking me these questions on TikTok. I mean, when I tell you I spent hours getting these people all together on this Facebook page, I mean, I spent a lot of time rallying them all together so that we could all kind of come together and share our experiences and the ways that we navigate, or the ways we're navigating through all this. And it's actually been a very beautiful thing. Right now, there's like 4 or 5 people that I'm going back and forth with that are in the thick of it, that are coming off Suboxone, that are asking, you know, how did I do it? That are all working together. Hey, this is what I did. This is what I did. Try this. Be careful of that. You know, and that's beautiful, because that's the whole reason why I created that.
I'm so thankful that you're doing that, Chasity.
Yeah.
Please continue. But I just want to say, just real quick, that I have visited your page from time to time.
I see that. I appreciate your support.
I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing and so needed. And I'm not surprised to hear that you have the following. You have a particular aura that attracts people, and they're eager and hungry to hear what you have to say. And, and you're a leader in that. And that's so important. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Ada.
I just need to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I see you. I see you on there, and I see you, and it's so beautiful, because I see people in the truther community in there that aren't necessarily struggling with addiction, but giving these people that are fighting. It's making me emotional. That are giving these people that are fighting like words of encouragement, and like giving them. I'm sorry. It's just
no, it's okay.
You know, fighting. What's that?
Yeah, I'll get emotional too, so I'm just holding back. Go ahead. Yeah. I love my sisters and brothers, and I love my addict. Let me tell you, we can use the word addict all day long. I used to smoke crack. I used to do a lot of things.
Me too, girl.
You may not be aware of. Now it's been, you know, I don't know, 12 years, 15. I don't know. It's been a long time. It started I'll tell you a little bit about mine, but let me be quiet. I want to hear what you have to say.
I've been there too, Ada. I've done everything you can possibly think of and then more. So, you know, but I understand that this is the journey.
A miracle that we are not today. We're actually on this podcast having a discussion about the successes that you've had in getting yourself clean, changing your life. I love watching you do flips and stuff. I could sit and watch you all day long doing and just think about, what does it feel to be up in the air and the body flipping like that? It's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
So please go ahead.
It feels amazing, especially being 42 and doing it. Yeah. It's like, you know, and the reason I decided to start doing that was because, you know, and this is a good way to kind of get into where this all started. So when I was 16, there were some things that started changing. You know, my mom was in this relationship with a man, and she wasn't really protecting me the way that a young woman should be protected, right? So I just rebelled. I mean, I completely rebelled, and I mean, I was constantly running away. I was constantly doing whatever I had to do to stay in an altered state of mind. But here's the thing: like, I wasn't an addiction. Like, I wasn't addicted to anything. Maybe I was addicted to wanting to be in an altered state of mind, right? Maybe that's what it was, because I was just really trying to numb all the pain, you know? I was trying to numb the pain. And so when this individual came into, I would have went far. I mean, I was a cheerleader. I was an athlete. I played volleyball. I played basketball. I ran track. I ran cross country. Like, I was a full-blown athlete. I mean, I was all around gymnast. I mean, I would have really went far. And when I started running away and started, you know, kind of hanging out with the wrong crowds, because I started hanging out with older people that already had like apartments and things, and drug dealers, you know, because they were going to save me, right? So once I started doing that and running away and got kicked out of school, my gymnastics and everything was stripped. I mean, it was all stripped from me, or I wouldn't say stripped from me, but it just kind of all paused. But I promised myself that I was never going to lose these skills. Like I was going to always at least have like what I think it was like a back handspring on a trampoline. I mean, I always told myself like I'm never going to lose this. And that's why I am today, you know, tumbling around, because I made a promise to myself. And I intend on keeping that promise. I mean, I don't know how long I'm gonna be like 80 years old doing back handspring, but whatever, you know what I mean? So, but I will say, my addiction, I did all of it. I mean, it started with X, you know, then it was Coke, then it was, you know, then it was pills, right? It was Xanax and things, but like my actual addiction did not start until I was prescribed a bottle of Vicodin, because when I was given that bottle of Vicodin, it was like I could still function. I could take care of my kid. I could like clean my house, and I could numb my pain. So it was like, I found it. You know what I mean? Like I found the solution to all my problems, right? So that's where it started. And, you know, one thing it progressed very quickly. I got up to 15 or 20 pain pills a day. I mean, it progressed quickly. So then they put me on, so then they put me on Suboxone. Okay. That's the drug that and I just want to say they created this drug for opioid use disorder. And I get so pissed off about this, because it's like, I love how they just make shit up, right? Like, oh, you know, this opioid use disorder. There's no disorder. They're giving you an addicting drug and you're becoming addicted. And now they're like, oh, well, I'm going to make up this disorder so I can give you this frickin', you know, Suboxone now, and you can take that. Like, you know how the big pharma goes, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, let me, you know, so I get really amped up about that, because a lot of people are like, oh, I have opioid use disorder. No, you don't. You're being prescribed something addicting. You're getting addicted.
Well, there's a lot more behind that too, Chasity. Yeah. Yeah. And when we move further into the discussion, there's a few things I'd like to share with you that you may want to consider and do your own research on. But
okay.
I do know that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Continue, no, please. That's okay. But it took me, I mean, I tried to come off of Suboxone. I mean, it got to where I'm like, I'm miserable. I can't, like, I've never successfully been able to come off of it. I would even go into like, you know, a treatment center, and they would do like a rapid taper. And it was so hard. It was so hard to come off of. And then, you know, I just felt I started meditating and had this spiritual awakening, and I was on Xanax, Adderall, Ambien, and Suboxone, and I stopped taking everything, but then I had to kind of get back on the Suboxone. So I stopped all these meds, right? And I was on these meds for a while, and, you know, I went through chemo. It was after going through chemo and things. So it was like, I told myself, you know, it was just,
you had cancer?
That's what they say. That's what they say, but I don't know how much I believe them anymore. I feel like I put my body through all that trauma and lost hair and all that shit for no reason. I feel like I could have probably, but it was the catalyst to my awakening. And I feel like it was what I had to kind of go through it and experience it. And also probably like working off karma, who knows, right? I just try not to fall victim, like, oh, poor me. Like it is what it is. I'm very grateful to be where I'm at and look the way I do and feel the way I do after all this shit that I've been through, you know? But where I was going with that is that, you know, that was my delusion. Well, I've been through chemo and so I need to take these Xanax and I need to take this, you know what I mean? It was my mind telling me like, I'm rightfully prescribed all of this shit, right? So when I had this awakening and decided to come off of everything, Suboxone was the hardest thing. I never had such a fight with any of these other drugs, right? Adderall was a little bit tough because it was like, it gives you energy. So that was a little tough, but I worked through that. You know what I mean? But the Suboxone was the most challenging. It took me a year so I started meditating and I was just intuitively guided. I was guided on how to do this. And I just started, like, I would take a little bit, put it up in the morning, allow my body to adjust. I would go through like these withdrawals, but it was tolerable. Right. And this went on for about a year. And then I was still going to these Suboxone clinics, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not me. Like, I cannot, like, this nurse pissed me off. And I was like, dude, and I felt like it was the universe going, what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? She's treating you this way because you're in the line with the rest of these people.
Yeah.
Like, even though you shouldn't freaking treat people that way. But I feel like it was a test from the universe. Like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep on doing the song and dance and keep on coming? And at that point, I was already weaning down, and I had to lie to my doctor because they were pushing up against the fact that I was wanting to come off of this drug. And you wouldn't believe how many other people are, say the same thing. I mean, it's just unbelievable the things that I've uncovered with this shit, right? And so I finally got down to like a very small slither, which was a year ago. And I had all of these Suboxone, and because I had pushed them, saved them, because I wasn't taking them and I didn't have anything to do with them. And so I poured all of them in hot water and was done with it. And I was like, oh, shit's just about to get real.
That's awesome. I love to hear that.
And I did it on TikTok. I posted it on TikTok. I posted it on Instagram. And then I went through all of the motions online. Like, I was even on people's podcasts, like withdrawing, like just being super real and super raw. But there are still people that are coming across my content that are like, your videos have helped me. You've created this safe space for us. Nobody knows about my addiction except you. Like, it's as rough as it's been. It's probably been one of the most beautiful things I've ever done, honestly. And
I am super proud of you. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about my own process and what I went through. I was never addicted to Suboxone, but I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and I've been put on Adderall, and I injured my back and was put on Oxycontin, but I knew I didn't need the Oxycontin. I was trying to build a case, and I put my body on the table, and I had to really come to terms with being like taking radical acceptance and truly taking full responsibility and understanding what I did to create the situations that I was in, regardless of what the doctors and so forth were doing. Because if they had it their way, they'd have kept me going. And like I had shots of cortisone shot in my back, which caused more pain than I was before I had the cortisone shot. Not only that, I didn't need 80 milligram Oxycontin.
What?
I was getting them. Yes.
I'm not surprised.
But let me tell you what I did real quick. Ugh. I laid in the bed for 3 days, and I said, I had, at this point, had a full-blown Kundalini activation. Okay. I was coming out of rehab. I've gone through like 10 rehabs, and I had a full-blown Kundalini activation in a halfway house prior to being transitioned back into, society and attempting to create a life for myself. And I was severely targeted, and I don't want to get into that, but that's a whole nother thing. And that's exactly so I found out. I don't know. Have you ever considered that you've been used in the projects and programs of my lab? And
maybe, I don't know. I mean, I have weird, I do have weird.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to put it in your head that you have or anything like that. That's not I just was asking the question because I know for me, and it was told that I was addicted. Yeah. They purposely had me addicted to cocaine to get me to go on missions. So I was definitely being used on Earth for missions and alternate realities. And I know that because I have memory. But it led into other things. But my main thing was the cocaine, because I had ADHD, and it was the only thing that would make me feel somewhat normal, if you will. Yeah. But I was, it was way too much, because Adderall, cocaine, all these types of stimulants, they open our crown chakra up.
Oh.
And they make it's susceptible to energies, entities, astral nonsense, and so forth. And that, again, is a whole other discussion. But like you, I just finally laid in the bed and I said, you will not get one more pill or one more puff out of me. I am done, because I realized what was going on. And the thing is, guilt and shame will get us every time.
I know it.
It's like a revolving thing. And then also, I don't know about where you live here. Don't you, Chastity? Do you live in Florida?
You're breaking up just a little bit. What's that? Say again.
You live in Florida?
I'm here right now. Yes, I'm from Texas. I was born and raised in Texas, but I'm currently in Florida at the moment.
Okay. Well, I don't know about Texas law. I know that, like, for instance, Max Spears, if you've ever heard of him,
I know who he is.
Not have. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Max Spears mentioned, and I knew he knew what he was talking about because I had become aware of this myself.
Yeah.
Where any drug and alcohol program, when you go in, it is law that they diagnose you with a mental illness before you're released.
Wow.
So it is law for them to do that. Because if they don't have you on the street drugs, they want you on their pharmaceutical drugs.
Wow.
It's one or the other. Why? Because they want to keep you from really becoming in tune with who and what you are, and for you to reach your highest potential, right? Because as long as and it doesn't matter whether it's drugs, alcohol, if we're constantly inviting other things in and stuffing our, like eating, exercise, anything that takes us outside of ourselves that is a quick fix or something to keep us distracted by, where we're not going within and really having a conversation with ourselves, our truth, who we are, and uncovering the things that so
that's the most important thing. That's what saved me is being with myself. For over 5 years, I was really I was in isolation. I didn't go out. I didn't do anything. I didn't date. I didn't do nothing. I was literally just finding myself again. And that's really what saved me. Finding that connection to that higher version of myself and that intuition that helped guide me through all of it, still today, navigating, shit. So yeah, that's so important. That's why, people will ask, what exactly is it that you did? And I'm like, well, I definitely can tell you what I did and what helped me, but your experience is going to be a little bit different. But the most important thing is to spend time with yourself and get to know yourself outside of everyone and everything else. And when you do that and you strengthen up that intuition, it's going to guide you in the right direction. It's going to guide you.
I absolutely agree. Everything that you're saying, I agree with.
Yeah.
Because that's how I did it. And I became a hermit, and I stayed to myself because it wasn't just drugs, sex addiction, drug addiction, shopping. I love to get dressed. I'm older now. Like, I'm 57. I'll be 57 in August. So I'm not, but I had to, and it wasn't until my 40s that I finally got it. Like when I finally had that full-blown Kundalini activation. And I'm not saying everybody has to have that experience in order to, no, you can get clean once you decide that this is no longer going to have power over yourself. And yes, you have to because you can go through a detox crisis too. You don't want to some people can't do cold turkey. I was able to, but some people can. And I get that and I understand. But if they can get you on Suboxone or methadone or any of the other
I don't encourage cold turkey, and I really
I don't know if you hear it, but sorry guys. Anyways, it's
totally cool.
Yeah, Chastity, I'm so proud of you, and you're such a beautiful woman, and you're super intelligent, and I love your genius.
I'm intelligent.
No, you are. You are intelligent. Let me tell you, emotional intelligence is so much more important. And if you can,
I am emotionally intelligent. It took a long time to get there. Yeah, I'm just teasing because I can be a little bit dingy sometimes, but I'm embracing myself with that, so it's all good. Yeah, but thank you, Aida. I really appreciate that.
It's Aida, by the way.
I mean, Aida.
Aida. No, don't be sorry. Everybody does it. The A is silent, but once you get it,
I'll tell you what, when I was at that Disclosure Now conference and being around all of you, there was something that was making me feel very powerful within myself, right? Because when I tell you I was like in isolation for such a long time, I would see my son, you know what I mean? And I would take care of my mom, but it was like, there was something about being in the presence of you all you know, and that was making me feel very empowered. You know what I mean? Like I sat and had conversations with Aurora. I had sat and had conversations with Matthew Mornian, like, and
Yes.
most specific, like there was a conversation that just made me feel very empowered. And I really think, and that was almost a year ago. And I think that's when I was really starting to step into myself, really. And it was because I was around you guys. It was, I hadn't felt that before. That kind of support and like genuine, like,
non-judgment,
right.
Non-judgment, true, unconditional love, not, yeah. And I know that Zach Fisher, shout out to Zach, holds you in high regard. He really supports you. And I love that because Zach has some history and so I think it's
Zach.
fantastic. He's awesome.
Him and his wife too. Him and Sue, being around them, it just, being around everybody, it just really made me feel very strong. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this community a whole lot. It's really done a lot for me. So
that's fantastic. I love to hear that. And that's so important. It's so important. You know, Brian Singh, for those that don't know, Brian Singh is the executive producer of the Full Disclosure Now conference, which is on the banner below. And Brian and I started from the very beginning together, and we work well together. I'm very, very happy to work so closely with him because I learn a lot. You know, it's my first time doing what I'm doing with this conference. And and I had some skill sets coming in, but not, I'm learning more as working with him and being guided and helping out. And what I want to say, the whole point of saying that is neither one of us have ever had the attitude that this is our conference or Brian's conference, or it's humanity's conference.
I love that.
It's a place for humanity to come together. All are welcome, whether you've been part of the Super Soldier program or not, trauma-based mind control or not. I will say this, and this is just a little caveat in my own perspective, and people do not have to agree to this. I believe we all have experienced mind control at some level.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Nobody's exempt from it. The goal is to come around like-hearted, like-minded people that truly get it and help support you. And that can reflect back to you what you extend out, right? Can reflect back to you, mirror back to you, and sometimes that's not fun. I mean, sometimes that can be a challenge because our egos still want to tell us, no matter, especially if you've dealt with addiction, for sure, because we are professors at escape, right?
Right.
Like I'll say, or I don't know if that's the right word. We are masters at escaping.
Oh yeah, right? I call myself fast food.
Right? We're good at being sneaky, or we think we're doing, we're hiding it from the world, and our addiction becomes very personal, and we fall in love with the addiction and the whole. It wasn't just the drugs; it's the lifestyle. The lifestyle that we were living can become addictive. The fact, hustle and the whole bit. So really, it's a process to really retract from that and learn new ways, which is what we're going to be getting into now. I'd like to talk to you, learn new ways of how to cope. And
so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I just want people to understand, like, it's not something that happens overnight. I mean, this was my way of life for 20 plus years. I mean, and sometimes people have the misconception that, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to stop everything and I'm going to do better. Like, you have to be a little bit more patient with yourself and have the understanding that it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. And I have a few people right now that I'm kind of going back and forth with, and they're being a little bit hard on themselves. I'm like, you are taking the initiative to get off of something that a lot of people are okay with just being on the rest of their life. So I said, I'm telling you, in a year from now, you're going to look back at this and you're going to be like, damn, I'm so glad that I started to do this when I did. But I wish I would have been a little bit more kind to myself, because patient, kind, like, it's not something.
Grace is always needed, right? And that's the hardest thing, is to gift grace to ourselves.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
To say we don't need to be perfect. We can just take one step at a time, one day at a time, and choose a higher octave of love for ourselves, whatever that looks like. Sometimes it's simply brushing our teeth. And I'm being, serious about that. Because not for myself. I've always been a clean freak, but I've known people that have had drug addiction that really just really got to the, like I lived a double life. If you didn't know me, you wouldn't have known I was on drugs. I always kept myself, but I know people that have really let themselves go. I mean, really bad, and it got really bad for them.
Yeah.
And so my point in saying that is, choosing to get up every day and just doing one loving, kind act for ourselves. If it's just simply just looking in the mirror and saying, I do love you today. Yeah. And I'm going to learn to love you even more for tomorrow and whatever it is that comes to your mind. But
yeah,
if it took me a long time
to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it was impossible. I remember meeting this lady. And I was at this, I remember meeting this lady, and she was like, she was encouraging me to, and this is way before, I mean, this was way before I dug as deep as I did to pull that out of me. But she was like, you should look in the mirror every day and tell yourself you love yourself. And I'm like, no, weird.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Oh, I do it. I love it. I do. Yes.
Yeah, I do it.
And
now.
there's actually candle work that you can do in the mirror, and it really helps too. And that's a whole nother thing. But
yeah, it's just so interesting.
Things that you can do, but you're doing great. So I don't need to tell you anything. I think Chasity, I think you're an example to so many of what can happen and the results of making the choice to love yourself more and to not give your power to drugs and alcohol or whatever it was, all the different, whether that's the thing too, right? We know that prescription drugs, people think that it's, it gives them a pass because they're prescribed and therefore they're legal. And the doctor said I need it, so I must take it.
Yeah.
And right. And that's the biggest. And unfortunately, they don't have our best interests. I'm not saying all doctors. I'm not one of these people. I do believe in holistic health and wellness. Mm-hmm. I have a small business. I help people with certain things, but I just know that I listen to doctors with a grain of salt in everything they say, and I challenge them. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you mind if we move into questions? Because I would love to see. Yeah.
No, sorry. So listen, please don't kill me, right? But no, let's go into these questions. But can I use the bathroom? I was thinking you could
of course, Chasity, go to the bathroom. We can take a 5 minute. Guys, I know we got a couple people in the audience. Give us a couple minutes. We'll both take a 5 minute and come back.
Okay, I'll be right back. Okay.
You guys grab a cup of coffee or tea and come join us. We're going to have a great conversation.
Yes, all right. I'll be right back. Okay.
All right.
All righty, here we go. Oh. Oh. Oh, Jason. Oh. 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 No, 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 no. Mm.
Sorry, I live on the second floor and I'm up and down the steps and I decided to change to get out of that jacket. It was colder earlier.
Where? So you're in Florida?
I'm in Florida in St. Augustine, but today it's pretty out. Earlier it
Yeah.
was colder.
Mhm.
Now the afternoon it's warmed up a bit.
Yeah.
But I get cold easy now. When I lived in Maryland, I could be in the snow and my hands were warm. I was fine, but not now. I get cold so easy.
Because you're used to this
I'm out of
weather.
breath running up steps. Yeah,
You're probably
got to
used to
get
the
my
weather.
breath. But
Thank you for letting me
yeah,
go to the bathroom. I'm sorry about that.
no worries. And thank you. We have two people watching. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, and of course, if there's questions, if you're open to questions at the
Sure.
end, if we have time, that would be great.
Sure.
We have a couple comments. It's Jason H. I'm trying to make my way there. Is that your friend Jason?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
good.
Jason is in our community too, right? And I think he's battling similar things that I've battled or am battling, so yeah, absolutely.
Welcome, Jason. I'll tell you, once you realize that this is a game being, or I don't like to use the word game is an understatement or not the right word, but this is a concerted effort to keep keep everyone on something, a distraction. Unfortunately, right. Some of us, when you grow up and you don't have the proper nurturing and loving parents, or we don't receive what's needed for us to grow up and thrive. Parents are given instructions, right? So you get to a point in your own healing where you realize that your parents, regardless of whatever the circumstance, did their best at the level of conscious awareness that they were at.
Yep.
And if you've grown up in a narcissistic family, then you understand that this is something much, much deeper than, just there's so much going on. There's so many dynamics to it. We can sit and try and figure them all out, or we can take our focus off that and what it is we can do to help ourselves. And so we're going to open the conversation. Back up to, so the first question for you, Chasity, what was the turning point in your life that led you to begin your journey on overcoming addiction? How did it shape your outlook on personal growth? Now, you've shared some of that already, but if to be more specific, what was the turning point? What was that moment when you said, this is it?
So, what's so crazy is it's just so weird. It wasn't like just one thing. I mean, you would have thought that would have, the car wrecks I've been to, in and out of jail, in and out of treatment, all this crazy shit. You would have thought one of these things, there was some sort of spiritual assistance. There was some sort of spiritual assistance that kind of came in and shifted my whole perspective on everything. Like I started having appreciation for life. Like I felt compelled to clean up my body, clean up my temple, take my breast implants out, like get anything that wasn't truly me out of my body. Like, and just genuinely.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. That make me cry just listening to you say that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I don't want to make
fantastic.
You cry, but...
No, but it really hits me hard. Thank you. Nope. That's the defining moment. And it can be accumulation of things that finally we just say, okay, I'm going to make that. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. And I can do it. Knowing and trusting that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had
lost you all day, Chasity. This is
thank you. Yeah. So I had gone through, before I had that spiritual awakening, it was, I went through the chemo, I went through the cancer, I went through the chemo. Before that, I had a miscarriage. Like I had been through some trauma at my house. I was living with my parents. I had lost my daughter. I mean, I had all of this shit. I'd had an overdose. I mean, it was just so much. I mean, I was compartmentalized a lot of it because I probably just to survive. And it really just really everything has just now kind of started coming back to me. And it makes me emotional sometimes because I just can't believe how much I've truly survived. Right. I mean, just in that little amount of time, I went through all this, and it was almost like I needed the spiritual assistance to kind of help me kind of get through that. But it was just so weird when I knew something had shifted. I was, like I said, I was feeling very compelled to get off all my medicine. I was like, I knew I wanted to start working out. I knew I was going to eventually get my breast implants out. I don't even care what that looked like. I didn't give a shit at the time. Like I didn't care to date. Like I didn't care. Like I just needed to clean this up, clean all of this bullshit up. And when I knew something shifted with me, I was living in this, I had moved out of my parents after going through chemo and all that. And I saw this bug like crawling on the floor, and normally I went to go and smush it with my foot. And I swear to God, something screamed at me like, no, like, and it was just the weirdest. It was like I was going back and forth with something else, like that didn't want me to kill that bug, that had such an appreciation for life. And I was so confused. I was like, what is happening? And like, I even like picked up a box because I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to kill this bug. Like gross. It's in my house. Like what? And so I remember being so confused. And like, I picked up this box and I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Right. Like, I guess I assumed like it would be more like, bug slaughter. Like I was just going to drop the box and I wouldn't necessarily be responsible for killing the bug, right? And I don't know. I was so confused, and like I dropped the box on the bug. I don't know why this stands out to me so much. And when it killed it, I got really emotional. It made me cry. And I was thinking, what the hell is going on with me? This is so freaking weird. And in that moment, I really didn't understand what was going on. But when I reflect back, there's just some sort of like,
I get intuitive hits when I listen to people, but I'll share if you want me to later.
I would love to continue. Yeah. Oh, just that's it, right? So it wasn't like, it was just like, it was some sort of spiritual assistance. I don't know if it was like walk-in. I don't know.
We don't have to, if you don't mind, real quick before I forget
Sure.
We don't have to, we don't have to completely abolish ourselves all at one time.
Right.
That makes sense. That we can honor the life, to represent it through the bug, which seems so minute and minimal that it didn't have any purpose, which it has great purpose. We know that. We know that now. At the time, so almost like it was a demonstration of you just saying, okay, this, I'm going to kill it, meaning I'm going to kill it. It's going to be done. I'm done kind of thing. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like killing. And when I say kill, I'm using the word kill, but to eradicate the addiction and anything that represents that. This bug right now is taking my focus. I don't want it in my house. I don't want the drugs in my house. I don't want and I'm going to abolish it, and it's going to be done.
Yeah.
But there's a softer, more gentle way to do that, which is through grace. So that's just what I kind of picked up. Does that make sense if I'm explaining, if I'm sharing that?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It was
like
just
a metaphor, like, okay, I pay attention to everything. Like I love watching ants. I pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
And anyways, go ahead, please.
No, that was it, really. I mean, you would have thought it would have been, I mean, my son saved me out of a burning car when he was 6 years old. I mean, you would have thought all these other things would have been the catalyst to me, hello, wake up, get out.
They were the catalyst. That's what led to the absolute final moment for you to make the decision, the switch. They were all catalysts. Every experience is a catalyst to push us closer or further away from ourselves, but we always come back.
Yeah.
We always come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually getting a little bit emotional.
Some don't. Some lose their lives. Let's get real about this. Some lose their lives, and they, whatever their soul's journey, wherever they're going for their own soul expansion. I don't believe in, I think I have a different perspective on suicide or accidental overdose, those kinds of things. That people just really want to relieve themselves of what they feel is the pain or the agony or the challenge within themselves to really, because we feel so much guilt and shame, which causes us to go back out and get high again. It's like, I don't want to feel that crap. I don't want to have to look at myself and own it. I'd rather blame my parents and everything else, my job, my kids, my whatever it is. And that's the hardest part, is really surrendering and saying, I'm done. And I'm now not going to be in fear of having a look at myself and going within.
So I will also share with you that I am a lot more intuitive and in tune than I realized. And I mean, it's even getting stronger now that I'm away from just away from the chaotic. Where I was living was very chaotic, and I didn't have time to focus on myself and my state of being and my, and so I understand now why I always masked my shit, because I always understood what other people were thinking and feeling and judging me and feeling and thinking, and my own trauma and my own shit. And it was just so much that I just was like, fuck, I can't do this. It's just too much, because now now I'm understanding how
Did you
truly
feel like people are projecting on you all the time? Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Do you feel like
absolutely. Right. I mean,
yeah.
just we're human being, you know what I mean? I understand what people are feeling and thinking. And even if it's something towards me, I mean, even at work yesterday, like I understand, I have these understandings of things, and especially if it's tied to me, and I don't take it personal anymore. Right. But like, I used to, and it used to just eat me up. And that's why I would like take Xanax and things, because I didn't want to know. But I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what I was truly capable and powerful, like, you know, and I'm just it. I have so much compassion for that version of myself that stayed in such an altered state, because I just, it was just too much. It was just way too much, and I just couldn't, because
Well,
sometimes I'm
that's
like,
not who you are today, and we can hold compassion. We realize that we've integrated,
yeah,
right? You've
right,
integrated that aspect of you. You're living a whole completely different life now. And you'll
absolutely,
get to a place where you, like, for me, I talk about it like when I'm having a conversation with people that are newly coming out of it, or or have had some time like yourself, right? I have the conversations, but I don't really talk about my past anymore in that way, because it's
yeah,
just not who. When I look back, I remember being in my apartment and thinking, who was that girl? Like,
hmm,
even now when I think about like the crazy shit that I did,
yeah,
it's like a part of me that I don't, or it was a aspect of me that I don't get. Like, I don't
yeah,
understand. I don't it was just a really what's the word, like what you said, I rebelled at
hmm,
every turn. I
yeah,
was not going to be controlled and manipulated or whatever, and I was just so angry. I was angry at, so I realized that I was using these projects and programs. So there, the first thing when I went through this, we call dark night of the soul, but
yeah,
it's really having to have a look at our own self. We think it's out there. It's not that there's not gatekeepers and there's not entities or energies or
mm,
military doing things. Yes, they are. But ultimately, we have contracted into that until we say no more, until
right,
we take our power back and say absolutely not, no more. Because
yeah,
it's easy to, especially when there's actual things going on outside of us that feels like it's a direct threat towards us.
yeah,
You're in survival mode and you're trying to figure out, how do I protect myself from this craziness?
yeah.
And then when you
Well,
finally come out of that and yeah,
yeah,
it's
so I get that, and I you know, it's interesting because I've thought about this before, like, okay, is me sharing this, sharing my past, like me reliving this, what is this? But really, I believe that everything that I've lived through and overcome, which is a lot, it really is a lot. I'm meant to speak about it. I'm meant to share it, because I'm meant to,
I
because
believe
I'm meant
that.
to help
Yes.
encourage, yeah, to help
No, I
encourage,
believe that. I absolutely believe that, Chassie.
yeah.
Don't misunderstand what I was
Oh
saying.
no.
I'm
Yeah,
saying
no.
that there's a point where, I guess really what I wanted to say was that there's no more emotional charge from it any longer. You're able to talk about it without it being where it really has an emotional charge in us, that you can
Yeah.
talk about it with an emotional maturity
Yeah.
and
With
in an
power.
open heart, with great compassion for ourselves and for those that are experiencing coming off drugs and alcohol or
Right.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it. I understand.
I will say,
You're amazing.
navigating these uncomfortable situations and waters, it is, you know, it is, well, it's uncomfortable. So,
It is uncomfortable, but that's where growth comes. It's like going to the
yeah.
gym, and it's an easy, cliche, or people say, but you don't get muscles by working out one time. Sorry,
No.
guys. You
No.
have to do it, and you have to repeat it, and you have to, build some stamina and some muscle, and then you get stronger, and then you realize how powerful you are and what
Yeah.
you're capable of. Then you get
Mhm.
excited for the result in that, rather than sitting in the, you know, nonsense of what addiction can do, which is
Yeah.
keep us in a constant, excuse my language, mind fuck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what's crazy? I had a dream, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago about somebody that I used to date and cocaine. And I haven't dreamt about drugs or anything in like, I don't even know when's like many years.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was, but I was like, thank you for reminding me how far I've come, like who I'm not, who I'm not an addict. Right. And I think that's a big thing too. And I used to go to AA and NA, and I was really involved, like running meetings and chairing and sponsoring and the whole bit.
Wow.
And I just realized that that was also a stepping stone for me.
Right.
It was not my result. I would not be in there for the rest of my life talking about the same freaking story forever. And, you know, and that kind of thing. And for those that do that, and if it works for you, great, but it wasn't for me. I don't consider myself an addict anymore. I have a cocktail when I want to. I can have a cocktail, and I can have go home and be responsible and, rest well and know that, but it's like once a year if I have a cocktail. I just don't want it anymore.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Never did the meetings, never did the 12-step, didn't subscribe to it. Not going to go in there and say, I'm Chelsea, I'm an addict 5,000 times. It's just like, I'm trying to create new neural networks in my brain, not relive the same ones over and over again. And that's
it's called a program for a reason. And it programs you. Yeah. So, and I can get deep about that, the symbolism, the whole bit, but that's another, maybe we'll do a second part too. That would be great.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So what were the biggest challenges you faced during your recovery process, and how did you navigate them while staying focused on your goals? So what was the biggest challenges?
Not having support, like in the beginning, before I met you guys, right? Before I started creating my support system online, like at the very beginning, when I started really going within, like, I would talk to like my old friend or ex, like I was really close to my ex-boyfriend. He'd be like, oh yeah, sure, you're quitting pills. You know what I mean? Or, oh yeah, sure. Oh, sure. You'll take them, hearing this, just having to be okay with, I had to really just block everybody out and not give a shit what anybody said. And I got to give a shit what anybody thought. Like, just not take this shit personal. Not really. I mean, my son, just the few people that I had in my life and in my corner at that time, and their feelings were valid. You know what I mean? The way that they, their lack of support was very valid, because I mean, for 20 years, I just kept dropping the ball, doing the same shit over and over again, saying I wasn't going to do this. So that I would say not having the support. And that's another reason why I do what I'm doing, because it's like, that support is very helpful. That support is very, very helpful.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
And I don't blame my son, right? He's my son. I put him through the ringer, right? But it's like, even when I would, I could feel too. I could feel if somebody said something, but their energy was speaking something else. You know what I mean? So like, where a friend of mine would be like, yeah, but I could feel the energy like, yeah, sure. Right. So it was like, it was easier for me to just literally cut everybody out. I mean, like I said, I saw my son regularly, but like I did not really talk to many people, or I really dug deep. But that's what I would say. That's what I would say was probably the hardest things, was just, but what that did was make me dig for myself even more, because I had myself, and it made me love myself and find myself. And I didn't need anybody else's fucking support. Excuse my French. Sorry. But I didn't need anybody else's support. I had mine. I didn't need that, but it took a long time and a lot of isolation and a lot of healing. There were times I would lay in meditation and just cry and apologize to myself for not taking care of myself and not being there for me and not showing up for me, and just like,
yes, that is so important. I get it.
Yeah. So that was it. That was definitely, that was the hardest way. And how did I navigate it? I found me. Yeah.
Very good, Chastity. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
How has embracing self-care and balanced lifestyle transform your physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being? So this is you answered some of that, but you can go deeper if you'd like, because I know that you're an amazing gymnast.
Thank you.
And you do amazing things. And you could share with, because finding healthier things that we really love doing, we give up on the things that we truly love because have moved, once you hit your teenage years, that's kind of like when people start removing themselves from their parents and deciding for themselves what they value, what their own belief systems are, and whether, what influence that they want to, what we want to take from our parents and what we're creating for our own autonomy. And then if you get involved in drugs and alcohol, we can lose that very quickly. And all the things that we dream up as little kids, playing outside, the things we love to do, like, for instance, you and your gymnastics and the exercise and being in some type of physical
that's it.
Sport. Yeah. So
working out, it's, working out is my drug. I love to work out. I love to dance. These are things that are very healing to my soul, and that I use during this healing process of my journey, like by myself. But I work out because it feels good. I don't do it to look good. Like, I work out because it feels so good. But the benefits of it is looking good, right? So it's like, this is great. It works out perfectly.
And you do look good. You have a gorgeous body, girl.
Well, thank you.
Keep it up. Don't wait till you're 57 like me, because now I've got a whole lot of work to do and I want to get back in the damn gym. But anyways, go ahead.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I got some war wounds. You know what I mean? Getting my breast implants out. that was what's so beautiful about this is I see pictures of myself before I had my breast implants, and I was so perfect. I had the perfect smile. I don't mean to be but I was a beautiful young girl. And
you are beautiful still, Chasity. I get it. Yes. Yeah.
But it's just so interesting because I hated myself so much that I literally wanted bigger boobs. I did not really I had, everything was just, but I hated myself. And now, it's like,
isn't that true? We want to fix the outside to avoid the inside. Like, if we're a mess on the inside, even people with OCD, I had it for years, and I'm a clean freak. My house looks like a model home all the time.
Right.
And I mean that. I keep my house immaculate. Now, it's gotten better where I'm able to live in it and not be so vacuuming myself to bed. I don't do that anymore. Literally, seriously. I was so uncomfortable on the inside. And when I was younger, I give myself credit. I was a very attractive young woman, and I didn't have to work out. My body just naturally people thought I was in the gym all the time, but I wasn't. And I used to dance. I competed. I used to compete all through DC, Maryland. Yes. So
very cool.
I get it. Yes. Yeah. And that was a way to also, it was a form of meditation for me. I didn't think about anything else but the music and the sound and moving of the body. So I get it. I have a great love for it also. So I understand that. And I think that's fantastic. You find other outlets. Yeah.
Moving.
So go ahead. Music. Sorry.
No, I'm so glad that you're sharing that. No, movement. I just find it so interesting because I had no love for myself whenever I look at these pictures, and it breaks my heart, right? Because it's like, girl, you couldn't see you. And now, I got these war wounds. I'm not perfect. There's a lot of things that can be, but I don't care. I don't care, because it's not even about the exterior. It's not even about it's about how I feel in my heart. And I feel so full and I feel so good. And
was that painful to have the breast implants removed, Chasity?
What's that?
I'm just curious.
What's that?
Having the breast implants removed, was that painful?
It wasn't pleasant.
I'm sure, but how did you do? You did that sober.
So, I sure did. I was not on pain pills when they took the breast implants out. No, I refused pain medication. I did not want the pain medication. No. So
you're amazing.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. And you know what? Let me just tell you this. So when I had them out, so I had them removed. There was so much trauma. There's so much trauma there. And then this left one started filling up with fluid. So here I am fighting this battle, and I finally get them out. And then it's this left one starts filling up with fluid. And I'm like, and I understand that this was all karma, right? I understand that this was something that I had to experience to get to where I'm at right now. But like this left one was like full of fluid. So I would put on these sports bras and like stuff this right one just so it'd be even with this left one and all this shit, right? And I was like, till I finally was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm just going to walk around with the Cyclops boot. Like, I don't even care. So for like a year, because that doctor screwed up, he left debris inside of me. And so for a whole year, I was walking around with fluid and and I would go there and get the fluid drained, right? And then it would go down. But then here I am like a month later and it filled back up. And this was a fight that I fought for like a year until I finally found a woman in Houston that could figure out what was going on. And she got in there and the doctor had left a lot of debris in there and he like pulled it all out, but it was like, the end result is not beautiful. I mean, but I don't care. It was almost like I had to go through all of that to be okay with where I'm at right now, because it could have been, it could have been worse than what it is right now. I'll never forget. And I share this because I think it's so important. When I first got my breast implants out and I went to go get a bra, and I remember looking in the mirror and I was like, it's a psychological, it's a mind game, right? Because I was like, and again, I'm by myself battling all this. I don't have friends. I don't have a support system. Like I'm dealing with it. Well, I got my guides and things, right? But still, when I looked in that mirror, I was like, this is freaking absolutely ridiculous. I look ridiculous. I thought I looked so ridiculous, but it was because for over 20 years, I saw these big honking things that didn't belong there. You know what I mean? And something told me it's not time. It's just not the time, Chasity. It's just not the time. So I left Victoria's Secret and I was like, I didn't go back. I didn't go back until I think another year later. And that's when I understood that it was the time and I felt better than ever. And it just took a lot of time and healing to be. And now when I see pictures of myself with those implants, I'm like, no, that looks freaking ridiculous, right? Like that.
Well, it's not your true self. It's not who you are.
Exactly.
I get it. And I think you're freaking super courageous and amazing.
Oh,
and I do. I'm not saying that. Listen, as you get to know me, I'm not a love bomber. I will speak my mind and say what I need to say. But I also appreciate, especially women. I support my sisters. I don't care. Especially when I see that people are truly doing the work, right?
Yeah.
And it's a daily thing and it gets easier and it's not so much of an effort anymore because it becomes a way of life.
Yeah.
And then we have other challenges that may show up that are healthier challenges. Nonetheless, they're challenges and we have to work. So, I mean, that's part of our soul expansion, right? So it's lovely to have, I have friends that are in their 20s all the way up until their 70s, 80s, like women. And I love my brothers. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not a man hater. I don't believe in I just think it's so important that women come together and really be supportive and show and appreciate and celebrate one another.
I agree.
It's important.
I agree. And you know what? My son's girlfriend was like, she wanted to get breasts. Girl, let me show you why you don't want to do that. Because that's what I feel like why I experienced that, right? I feel like I went through all this and I experienced all this so that I can show women why they don't want to do this shit. Like, you are okay the way that you are. I promise you are. You are just comparing yourself like I did, because I did Hawaiian tropics modeling. And I wasn't even 20 years old. I wasn't even fully developed. And I did this modeling and I was comparing myself to these women with big old breast implants, and we'd get in our bathing suits and I would tell them, how am I ever going to win against these women? And that's one of the reasons that I went and got breast implants, because I was doing the, but it's okay.
Right, I get it. I mean, I haven't gotten any kind of nothing with my body.
Good for you.
But I know people that have, and it's always, when I go to hug somebody and I feel like I'm, there's they're like hard as a rock. I can't hug them. I mean,
no,
I have family members and I won't get it, but I don't judge people. People, do things for whatever reason they feel is what gives them, I don't know if I want to say a false sense of self-esteem or society will do that, right?
It does.
Like, for instance, what you're talking about with the modeling, like it will cause us to think that we have to be something that we're not in order to be valued, to be recognized, to be worthy, to fit in, to all of the things. And
there were
I've never been one of those girls. I've always been very confident and I love my curves, and I've never been, but I have other deep insecurities in other ways, like being challenged with ADHD, leaving school. The last grade I completed was 6th grade. And so I have some other challenges, but I also appreciate my own genius too. And especially now, I'm like, I don't, like you, it's not that I don't care what other people think of me. The people that I care about, I do care about what they think of me, because they're my friends, and I want them to think of me in high regards and high esteem. Of course I want that. Yeah. But I also want to be granted grace when needed, because I'm not freaking perfect. And I've had friendships where people put me on pedestals and think I'm supposed to be something I'm not. And I too have a shadow. We all do. And I do shadow work often. But when I feel like somebody's like trying to really see a side of me that like get at me to see another side of me, to see if it's in there, you'll get what you're looking for every time. Right? So, and I'm getting better, but it's not often that I get like that, but I can. I mean,
same.
Anyways.
Same. You know what? That reminds
Go
me of this. I just want to share this experience. So, I was so angry all the time. And I was always like, give me a reason. Like, give me a reason to come at you, is how I was. It doesn't even feel good, like even acting like that anymore. But I remember I remember being in the grocery store, and it was after that experience with the bug. It was after all these things, and it was when COVID was going on. And this girl she was cursing at me because I wasn't having on a mask. And I just remember like kind of freezing and like not knowing what to do with the situation, right? Because normally I'd be like, give me a read, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And it was definitely a test from the universe, because it didn't just happen once. We went around and I was like, maybe you should just try shutting off the news, is all I told her. And then we saw each other again, and here we go again. She's you know what I mean? And it was just such an interesting experience, because it just showed like, again, like the spiritual assistance, like something had shifted within me that I at that point I was like kind of shaking, right? Because it was like, what do I do with this? Like the old version of me would have been like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, come on. But this new version of me was like, no, don't lower yourself to that shit. Like, that's just not worth it,
What sign are you, if you don't mind me asking, Chasity?
I'm a Scorpio.
Okay. I know that kind of rage that you're talking about, because it's a rage, right? Mm-hmm. And because of our own, or I'll speak for myself, and this is definitely not a projection. It's just only something that I can relate to with what you're sharing, because I'm the youngest of 12 kids. So I have 7 older sisters and 4 older brothers. Then I have a brother and sister younger than me. But I grew up in a family where you didn't come home with your butt, you didn't get beat up. If you came home beat up, you're getting your ass beat when you got home. My family was known, right? And I had a brother that was, super popular, and all the girls wanted him, and the guys like looked up to him because he would protect the kids that were the bullies would pick on. And I was Salem's little sister, Ida. And I had this, I've always had this very outgoing, spunky, love everybody. I'm a Leo. And I'm an Aquarius rising and moon. And plus, growing up in a big family and being exposed to things that I shouldn't have been exposed to as a young girl. Yeah. But there was a time that I had a great deal of rage. I wanted my softness back, and I didn't know how to get it, right? I didn't want to walk around feeling like I've never been a bully or anything like that, but I've always, I don't look for problems from people and I don't start them, but I am also a person that we'll nip it in the bud right
That's
now.
right.
I'm not going to go back and forth with you,
Yeah.
right? And I just realized that I didn't have anything to prove anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't need to prove to you that I'll beat your fucking ass right here, right now. You don't use my language. I didn't need to do that anymore. I'm not even trying to be cute, and I don't think I'm big bad Ida by no means. But I had this exterior thing that I had to like, don't fuck with me kind of thing. Excuse my language. I know I'm using that word a lot because when my mother told me, I did people that use the word fuck aren't intelligent enough to get their point across without having to use the word. And I'm like, no, mom. Yeah.
That's bull.
When I was a kid.
No.
She wanted me to talk. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But it did make me think, is there another way I can articulate how I feel? But no, sometimes that word is a perfect word to get my point across.
That's right.
But anyway, yeah. So anyways, my point is that there was this rage inside of me that that I really had to get in control and to heal, so that I didn't feel the need to over dominate, control anybody.
Yeah.
Even if they, as long as they didn't put their hands on me, I would walk away. My thing is you can't keep coming at me like what you were saying and think that I'm not going to react at some point. It's like poking the fucking lion. Eventually the lion's going to bite your fucking head off. Like, leave me alone kind of thing. Right. But even now, it's gotten even like, I'm so proud of myself. I feel like the universe tests us to see where we're at, to see if we've really learned a lesson. And I went through an experience last year with somebody here in the apartment development I live in. And I was shaking. I took this long way to tell you this story. Like you, I was shaking. And I had to call my friend up. Shout out to Jennifer Munoz. She's the one that did the website for the conference. I was shaking so bad because I was wanting to go and like light this girl's I knew I didn't really want to do that, but it was it's almost like this impulse. And I constantly say, I want my softness. I want my loving kind. I want to be emotionally mature enough to say, hey, I get it. And I understand. I'm not going to engage. I'm walking away.
Yeah.
Right.
And that can be hard, especially if they're poking at you, right? You're like, okay.
Right. But you just I did. I walked away. I didn't have to prove that I was going to, show her.
Right.
Whatever. I don't, it's not okay for me to put my hands on I'm not that person. I think I've been in like 5 fights in my entire life, from a little girl up to like, not a fighter, but I will protect myself and I do it well. So it's not, and that comes from being the youngest of 12 kids.
Of course.
Right? But I don't, you get to a place in your life where you're like, what does all this mean? And why would it's not okay to it's just like, it's not okay. And I kill gnats and then I feel bad. But now if I can pick them up and get them outside, if I find a bug in my house, I will do that.
Yeah.
And I don't do roaches. I cannot. If I ever seen that, I'd not do well with that.
No.
But I'm saying like little, bugs come in when the weather changes and stuff. And I try to honor all life.
Roach is a pass. Those are gross. Yuck.
Yeah. All right, let's move to another, because I could probably talk to you, and you're coming to the conference, aren't you?
I'm going to try to make it to the, because now that I'm not too far from there, I don't see why that would be. There's just no telling, right? Because I'm just trying to live in the moment. Everything has just been, I
get it, Chasity.
I left my mom's.
I really hope you come, because all your soul family is going to be there.
I know. I probably
and
will.
We're not all. I believe every single person that showed up at that conference last year was meant to be there.
I agree.
And so But yeah, so I hope you do come. And this year's going to be even more amazing. You don't have to come for the whole thing, but you could at least
well,
come.
if I'm here in Florida, I definitely am going to do whatever I got to do to get there. And I know.
Well, where are you? If you don't mind me asking, where are you in Florida?
Near Fort Myers.
Okay, so that's far. No, the reason I was asking is if we were near each other, we could meet up for lunch or something someday.
I would love that.
Fort Myers is far. I'm in St. Augustine.
I know.
But if you ever want to come visit St. Augustine, you're more than welcome. I have a beautiful apartment. We could go to the whatever. Just saying.
I've got people here. They're just kind of far from where I'm at right now, which is fine. I'll get there. I'll get to where
Myers is a good bit away.
Yeah.
But okay, so what advice would you give to someone who is struggling to find hope and take the first step towards overcoming adversity?
What do you mean by adversity? What do you mean by that?
Anything that's challenging them, that if they have struggling, husband, wife that's on drugs, they themselves are on drugs, they're both on drugs, family member, themselves, a job that's super stressful, that they go home and drink after, work every night, whatever it is, whatever is,
I think the most important thing as somebody who's struggling is it's just so important to get in tune with yourself, right? Nobody's going to have the answers. I mean, that's the biggest thing. People are always like, what did you, I got in tune with myself. I found myself, like I figured out who I was and what I needed, and that I don't really need anybody else, really. I do not need anybody else. And when you are so sure about yourself, it's so much easier to navigate these things, getting in tune with yourself, spending time with yourself every single day, like outside of the chaos, outside of anybody else's energy, outside of anything else, like spending time with yourself, especially if you are in the thick of it. When I was getting off Suboxone, every single day, I was by myself anyways, right? But I just made sure to just get in touch with myself, and that intuition will help you navigate whatever struggles that you're going through.
I think the universe, we call it spirit, God. I don't care for the word God, but I would say creator.
I don't like that either.
Yeah. I think that, I know from having my own experiences that definitely things will be put in alignment for the opportunity for us to make the higher choice. Right.
Yes.
But we first have to get ourselves away from the people. That is you got to get away from the people that you're using drugs and alcohol with. And it quite literally changing. Now, I will give some credit to the program or AANA and some of the things I do think were helpful and useful, and that is changing people, places, and things. Mm-hmm. We have to, because if you continue to go around the same environments that you used in, the triggers are going to be there. The challenge is going to be there. It's going to be difficult, mm-hmm. And you set yourself up that way.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, and
it does require.
Sorry. No, don't be sorry, Chasity.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was actually caring for my mom. There are people who follow my journey understand that I was caring for my mom, right? That we Dr. Hop and do these things together. We would use pills together. You know what I mean? So when I started going within and liberating myself from these medications, and I'm caring for her because she's a paraplegic, you know what I mean? And I'm catching myself every single day still handing her these meds that I'm not even taking anymore. And it's like, I can't keep doing this. Like, how am I still living this life when I can't continue to do this. Right. So I couldn't agree more with you about that. Yeah. Bless you, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly it. That can remove yourself from the environment. Yeah.
Yeah. But after you build yourself up, it's like when I quit smoking, when I finally decided, no, I started smoking cigarettes again, and it's not something I'm proud of, but I don't beat myself up for it either. I give myself the grace and understanding that I've done it before and I can do it again. And when I'm ready, I will.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Right.
That's a really tough one.
I stopped for a year and a half. I drove all the way to Maryland and back. Didn't smoke. I quit smoking, but then I start rewarding myself with food. So I was like, I don't want to gain a bunch of weight. It's like you let go of one thing and you find healthier habits. And I was going to the gym, I got down to 150, all the things. And then I moved to St. Augustine and kind of got off I don't know. I just had to, it was like I was repeating all of this all over again. Like, what was it that I didn't learn? Although I don't beat myself up for it either.
Have grace, like you said.
I'm a work in progress every day, and I think we all are. You never arrive. Life is always going to show up in ways that we don't expect in order for our own soul growth. The biggest thing I can say on this podcast or to anybody is about self-mastery. And in order to be able to master ourselves, it means that we have to sit still, get silent, like what you're saying, take that time for self-inquiry and self-reflection so that we can really get to know ourselves. And doing shadow work. When we react, it doesn't mean that we're never going to be triggered or never, that we're walk on eggshells. Oh no, I can't do that. Can't do this. It's saying, okay, now I'm self-aware enough that I see my own patterns and what can I do to abolish them, to change it and radically change it? Or how do I transition myself and make better choices just one day at a time?
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll move 10 steps forward and you feel like you've gone 6 back.
Oh yeah.
It happens.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's just it, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for those that are listening or will be listening, on YouTube or the replay, understand that Chastity is an amazing, and by the way, I need to get your link so I can add it to the comment sections. I don't think I have your links. If you'll send them to me in the messenger, I'll add them to the video so people can check out your YouTube channel. Go to the group on Facebook. If, you never know. If one person sees this and hears our conversation and it brings, brings some value to them and they reach out to you on Facebook or reach out to or whatever, if we help one person, we've served our purpose. And most importantly, this is a gift to ourselves. Yeah. To say that we're reflecting back to each other the growth and the support and the kindness and the love and the real, when I say grace, I'm talking about real grace, offering ourselves grace. It's so easy for us to forgive other people, and it's difficult to forgive ourselves.
Oh, right? Man.
Yeah. So, but it is possible. Recovery, getting clean, getting off drugs, call it what you will. Stopping using drugs and alcohol is possible when you make the decision and you start taking sometimes big steps. It depends on how, where you're at, and sometimes small steps. I say take small steps, one day at a time. If you don't pick up, before you know it, you've been doing it for, 90 days, 6 months, a year. Then you move into a different way of life. Then you realize, I don't want that crap in the first place. Yeah. Like it really does happen that way, doesn't it?
It sure does. And it's just having the awareness, right? It's having the wherewithal and understanding that, because before I had left my mom's, and I know I share this, I get repetitive with this, but before I left my mom's, I was like, and I didn't drink. I had stopped literally everything. There was nothing I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to be, but it was getting really tough at my mom's. Like it was really getting rough. And I caught myself. I would go downtown Georgetown and have like a mimosa, right? I mean, I was going to have a mimosa.
Georgetown in Washington, Georgetown?
No, it's in Texas. Like it's in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just
called Georgetown. Sorry, I thought. I grew up in Maryland.
I never been in Washington
all the time. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's easy to. But that one mimosa and that one day, that one Friday, started turning into 2, and then started turning into Fridays, Saturdays, and then started turning into every week. And I'm like, whoa. How the hell did I get here? Like, even being here, I was triggered a couple of weeks ago, and I was very uncomfortable. And I went up to a restaurant right up the street, and like I caught myself having a mimosa. And I actually reached out to Zach, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "I know." Like, and after I drank it, I was like, "I don't even want this. Like, what am I doing?" It's just these old patterns. And when you go through it, you're like, "Oh, like that's not me anymore." It's just these old patterns that you're trying to break. And especially if you're uncomfortable.
Well, it's also the emotional body with the mental body. We have other parts of we're not just this physical We have an auric field, we have an emotional body, mental body, plastic body. So it's in our memory in our emotional body, right? That is the response. And
exactly.
It takes time to change that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And the good news is you didn't get plastered, you didn't get drunk, you didn't go pick up a pill, you had a freaking mimosa. Don't beat yourself up for it. You realize it's not what you want and you move it up. Yeah.
Right. You're right. And I did it. But after one sip, I was like, I don't even want this. Why did I even do this? Like, I don't even want this. Yeah.
That's how I am now. Like when I go out, occasionally I'll go out and have dinner with, a girlfriend or something. And I do like margaritas and Bloody Marys. I like live music and I can go for a night and have a few drinks. Mm-hmm. And then I don't touch nothing for a whole year. Like it just depends. But typically I say, no, I don't want to. Now, if I know I'm going to go out and listen to live music, I say to myself, it's okay to have a couple cocktails and I limit myself. Yeah. And then I don't touch it I don't have the addiction for that. Alcohol was never my thing anyways, but I broke the programming of addiction quite literally. And when I did, the whole thing changed for me. Mm-hmm. So I love Chasity, it's been a pleasure having you on. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long we've been going. I don't want to keep you all day.
Okay, yeah, so you're intuitive. Yeah. It's an hour and 31 minutes right now.
Yes. So. Yeah, interesting enough, right? Yeah. So this has been a lovely conversation. I've enjoyed having you on. Yeah. Maybe in a few months or something, or after the conference, another time it'll feel right, and maybe have you come back and we can, I don't know, talk about whatever's going on in life at the time.
I love that.
I'm super proud of you. I want to tell you that as a sister, and I know that we're becoming friendly or friends with one another, right? Mm-hmm. I know we don't know each other well, but I do remember meeting you at the conference and then getting to know you a little bit more by watching on Facebook and then finding out, because I didn't know any of this about you when I met you in the conference. I didn't know you had any of this. Oh, right? I didn't know you. Yeah. So opened my heart up to being interested in knowing you better and developing more of a friendship or we could at the very least be supportive to one another. And awesome. So yep. Let people know where they can find you. Jason, by the way, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Hi, Jason. Yeah. So I have Unveiling Addiction. My Facebook page is Unveiling Addiction. My YouTube channel is Unveiling Addiction. And then, I have my personal page on social, I have my personal page on Facebook, which is my name, Chasity Munoz, and then on Instagram. But yeah, what's most important to me is, my Unveiling Addiction Facebook page and YouTube channel. So yeah.
Very good. Okay. So if you'll send me the links in the messenger, and then I'll go back in and add them in the comment section so you guys can have her contact information if you're interested in. And Chasity, this was a fantastic, I think a valuable conversation that will bring value to people. And if anything, we know that we shared our best, right, to guide people and give them hope at the very least that it is possible. You've got two women that have gotten clean and turned their lives around and living completely different lives. Everybody's capable of it. And there's no judgment here. This is a platform, no judgment. I don't care. You come just as you are, and we'll do our best to give you some guidance.
That's right. We're dropping the judgment. That's how we're ending that.
There's no judgment. That's right.
No more. We're done.
Yeah. That's
no
right.
More. Okay. Good.
We don't have any business judging anybody anyways. I mean, who do we think I say that to myself all the time. You get in the car, you're driving down the road and you see some guy on the corner and automatically I go into this whole spiel of his life and who he is. Yeah. Just by seeing, and it's, I don't do it all the time, but some people hit you that way, especially if you're seeing somebody asking for money or whatever. And I pick and choose when I decide to be, charitable and when I don't, but I have to really watch myself with that because I remember I never was in that situation, although there were a couple times the guy I was dating, that was a whole nother story. But the point is it's so easy to go into judgment But it's so much easier to just have an open heart and to be kind and loving. It takes much more work to be judgmental than it does to be loving and kind. And I know that. I know that. Yes. Yeah. So have a fantastic day, everybody. Jason, thank you again for showing up and being supportive for Chasity.
All right. See you later.
Awesome. Very good. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.